Hello my fellow gamers and Total War fans, my name is Peter and I will be your combat instructor during this basic battle tutorial. Today you're going to learn how to win land battles in Troy, the newest addition to the Total War Saga games. We are going to cover topics such as how to command armies and use units properly, where and how to set up ambushes, best ways of choosing and executing flank and rear attacks, and how to rout enemy armies. If you're new to my channel, I would like to welcome you and point you to my playlist full of videos about this game, which I will link up here and in the description below. The battle which we are going to study is a custom one, set up between two full armies, all units upgraded to their maximum chevrons, which are the experience levels for units, and the opposing enemy AI is set to its highest difficulty level. We are going to play as Hector of the Trojans against Achilles and his superior Myrmidon army. The first thing you have to do in creating a battle plan is to survey the battlefield. Here we see a mostly flat map in the middle with few hills on the edges and some forests. As Achilles is the attacker in this battle, Hector can set up a defensive position and wait for the assault. But we are not going to be passive, but rather proactive in this battle. So we are going to set up an ambush in the middle forest, while the rest of the army is going to form up on the edge of the battlefield. Every unit has an icon on its unit info card which shows whether it can be hidden in a forest. And when you deploy it in a forest, you will see an indicator show up above the unit card that it is indeed hidden from view. To see these traits, you have to enable the unit's info card by clicking on the appropriate icon in the bottom left corner of the screen or by pressing the I key. In Troy, besides forests, you can hide units in tall grasses, but not all unit types. Our main army setup will be with spears on the flanks, units with clubs in the center, swords as reserves in the rear, and the range units at the forefront. We are going to use the Ctrl plus G key to lock infantry units into a formation which they will keep even when advancing and running. This prevents lighter and faster units from leaving behind heavier ones and breaking up the battle line. Our ambush force is going to be made up of armor-piercing javelins and fast spearmen flankers. Our plan is to move the army to the left, draw in the enemy army to that side, and by doing so, set up their flank and rear for the ambush force to be able to attack. As soon as the battle commences and the armies are on the move, the old saying, "No battle plan survives contact with the enemy," comes into play. The enemy is wary and suspicious of a possible ambush force hiding in the forest, and with good reason. The enemy chariots are going to scout out that area and we have to intercept them as quickly as possible. We are going to send our only available fast unit, which is our charioteers. We can already see how our battle plan and the whole army's movement to one side has broken up the enemy's army's formation and forced it to turn. The range units are all over the place, there is no unified infantry line, and many units are running ahead of the others. This is exactly what you want, as it creates openings in the enemy's army formation, which you can exploit. As the chariots meet head-on, the first few hits are exchanged, but since we have the higher quality unit in this battle, the enemy chariots back off. This lets us use our unit to create even more havoc in the enemy's army formation. The weakness of the chariots, which our enemy is now exploiting, is their size, which makes them easy targets for range units to hit. So while a very good charging unit, which can deal a lot of damage to a melee unit equipped with clubs for example, the chariots cannot survive prolonged combat against spear units or many arrow volleys. Now please do not mind me reminding you to hit that like button below if you are enjoying this video, and write a comment about your favorite Troy character, or even subscribe if you would like to see more videos like this. Our ambush was saved by the chariot's intervention and it is becoming a great success. The javelins are aiming at a heavily armored and shielded infantry unit, which is taking huge hits to its numbers with each new javelin volley. This is a very powerful and expensive unit, being brought down to its knees by a cheap low-tier unit. Each ambush can have different objectives. You might want to engage the enemy hero and tie him up away from the main battle for a while, depriving his units of his supportive abilities and morale bonuses. Or you might want to attack the enemy range units and prevent them from targeting your main battle line. The important thing is to bring the right units for what you have in mind. The fast moving spear units we use here have no shields, so it is paramount to get them to attack enemy range units as soon as possible before they take too many hits. These units can be used as rear or flank attackers and have a bonus trait for just such an attack. but as the nearby enemy units have unbreakable morale, the extra bonuses to the flank or rear attacks would be wasted on them. It is best we just disrupt the enemy's range units. As I mentioned, we are not going to sit and wait for the enemy attack, but rather meet it head on. Since both army corps are infantry units armed with swords, shields, spears and clubs, it is important to manually pick the targets for our archers, as they need to target enemy units in order of their weakness towards missiles. While the enemy will target our own range units with his missile fire, we need to ignore this for two reasons. First, a range unit attacking another range unit has no impact on the overall battle. It basically doesn't achieve anything. If we were to fire back, we would just end up in a range attrition war where neither side would have any use for the remaining range units. The second reason is that if we use our range units to help our infantry units win their ground combat, the battle will be practically won. Our remaining infantry units will always be able to finish off the enemy range units, thus ending the battle in our favor. Because of these two reasons, we are going to use our archers to pick off enemy infantry melee units. The most opportune targets are units which carry no shields and have low armor. These are the two-handed club wielders and the two-handed spear units. A focused fire by several archer units is capable of reducing their unit strength by half in just a few volleys. Each unit which you damage gets a reduction to its morale. The less morale it has, the more likely it is to flee. And the more units flee, the higher are the morale penalties for the remaining enemy units nearby, and this eventually leads to chain routing. But we have a lot of combat ahead before that can happen. Now we come to the main event and the most crucial and control-intensive part of the battle. As the two infantry lines converge on each other, you should slow down the time and give yourself the ability to properly give attack orders to each individual unit. Without those exact attack orders, a unit might just run into enemy units, and this would waste its charge bonus. The charge bonus gives additional damage to the unit's first attacks, and when successful, it can decide the outcome of the individual unit duels if the units are of equal overall strength. When you are at this point of the battle, choosing with which unit to attack which enemy unit is no longer easy or practically possible. Since the infantry lines are already converging and units are in a full run, any diagonal attack orders will just create a mess and units will cross paths with each other, creating massive blobs. You won't get charge bonuses and holes will be created in your battle lines. This is why you must commit each unit to battle against its opposite pair in the enemy's army. Some or perhaps all of these pairings might be uneven, but it is not what you need to worry about. You need to hold your battle line and prevent passage of enemy units to your flanks or even worse, your rear. This is what the reserves are for. On the flanks of our army, we had set up double ranks of spearmen with two elite swordsman units left back in the middle. The use of these units is twofold. First, to plug any holes which might have been created and which enemy units could use to get behind our line. And second, to do exactly the same to the enemy. As the main infantry battle develops, you will clearly see where units have amassed into blobs, where there are great mismatches in unit strength, and where there are holes in the battle lines. Any one of your units which is headed into an already thickening melee blob needs to be stopped and diverted into a flanking maneuver. These units are the morale breakers now, and their charges into the enemy's flanks or even rears will win or lose the battle. The enemy AI, such as it is in this game, will very often create these unit blobs, so you shouldn't be short on great opportunities to use such as this one. When an enemy unit's morale gets low enough, it will flee the battle like these units here, but units which are not broken can reform and come back to the fray. This you can prevent by sending your own units to keep chasing them down until they are off the battlefield, but if the outcome of the battle is not yet certain, you should keep them in the guard stance marked by the shield icon on the unit's bar, which means that the unit will not chase after enemy units and you can use it to finish off other enemy units. Achilles' Myrmidons are not only heavily armored, but have the unbreakable morale trait. For us, that means that the unit cannot be routed, since their morale cannot be damaged, so they have to be eliminated down to the last man. In our own army, we have several units which will improve the morale of nearby friendly units, and while not as powerful as the unbreakable trait, it will still provide a good morale boost. I have purposely been ignoring the heroes Hector and Achilles during this battle guide, as they have been locked in personal combat this entire time. You might think that these titanic personalities could win or lose entire battles, but even in the Saga of Troy, they are just men, no matter how remarkable, and you will soon see that even losing your commander will not prevent you from winning a well planned out and played out battle. When you combine all the tactics I have explained here, employ units to the best of their abilities, keep your unit morale high and drag down the enemies, you will set yourself up for a victory no matter how difficult the battle is or how strong the opponent was. This battle is almost finished and only the enemy units which have the unbreakable trait are still fighting on.
Victory is close enough to taste.
And they will keep fighting on until the last man in the unit. The rest of the enemy units have fled or are routing as we speak. Achilles himself is just a few spear hits away from sharing the dirt with Hector, who has weakened him to the point where a single damaged medium or heavy infantry unit can defeat him.
Hades has claimed the enemy hero.
Total War battles are truly a unique gameplay experience, and with the advancement in AI programming, these enemies have evolved to a point where they can be a serious opponent even with no hidden bonuses to units. To give you a deeper understanding of the underlying combat mechanics like armor, health, morale, speed, attack speed, and many others, I will be making more basic and advanced battle tutorials for Troy on my channel, links to which will be posted as cards on the screen. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, or if you have any battle tips of your own which you would like to leave for other players to read, please write them in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and may you win many battles.